Welcome back, everyone, to the First Trainer podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into a book that's been making waves, Changing the Game by John O. Sullivan.
Oh yeah. Have you heard of this one?
I have, yeah. It's a really important book, I think, for anybody who's involved in youth sports.
It really is. And whether you're a coach, a parent, or just someone who remembers playing sports as a kid yourself, there's a lot to glean from this book.
Absolutely. So we're really excited to dive into it.
Yeah. So one of the big things right off the bat that O'Sullivan talks about is shifting our focus in youth sports away from just the scoreboard and the outcomes and more toward the kids themselves.
Right. It's such a needed message in the world we live in today. It is so easy to get caught up in the wins and the losses and, all those things, the trophies and the championships.
Absolutely. All of that can be fun in its own right. But there's so much more to it.
Yeah, and I think he does a really good job of bringing that to the forefront. He gives a great example early on in the book.
Yeah, about how instead of, just praising a kid for scoring a goal, you can acknowledge, the effort that they made to get there.
Yeah, instead of saying great goal, you could say something like, wow, I was so impressed with your hustle on that play.
I love that. It's subtle.
Yeah, but it's such a powerful shift.
Yeah, and it takes the focus off of just the result.
Yeah.
And puts it more onto the process.
And, those little steps along the way.
Yeah, and the growth mindset.
Oh, yeah. It's all about developing that growth mindset, right?
And not tying their sense of self-worth to, just the outcome of the scoreboard.
Absolutely. Because when we do that, we really, we run the risk of them equating their performance with their worth as a person. And that's a dangerous road to go down.
So how do we as coaches and parents and, caring adults in their lives, how do we actually foster this growth mindset in kids?
It starts with recognizing that effort is just as important as outcome. And, one practical tip that O'Sullivan gives is to remind kids before each game to focus on effort, fun, and teamwork.
Oh, I love that. It's not about, going out there and winning. It's about giving your best, having fun with your teammates and, working together.
It's those things that they can actually control.
Exactly. They can't always control the outcome, but they can control their effort.
Right.
And their attitude and, all those things that ultimately will lead to better outcomes in the long run anyway.
Absolutely. It's about the process.
And that reminds me of something else he talks about later on in the book about the car ride home.
Yeah, that the car ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah, should be a safe space, not a critique session.
The dreaded car ride inquisition.
Yes, exactly. So many parents are guilty of this.
I've been there myself.
Yeah, you get caught up in the moment and you want to analyze every play and talk about what they could have done differently. But, it's so important to just be a source of unconditional support in that moment and just let them decompress.
And you share their experience if they want to, but to not put any more pressure on them, just create a safe space for them to just, be themselves.
Yeah.
And let those emotions settle.
So instead of, analyzing the game, what are some things that we can say to our kids on the way home from a game?
Well, a simple, I loved watching you play today.
Ooh, I love that.
It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, Or did you have fun out there?
Yeah, and that opens the door for them to share what they want to share.
Exactly. And to feel like they're heard and understood and that, you're on their team.
You're on their team regardless of how many points they scored or whether they won or lost.
Exactly. It's about being there for them as a person.
It's interesting how this all ties back to the idea of avoiding early specialization.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is another big point that O'Sullivan makes.
Yeah. So pushing kids to specialize in one sport too early can actually be detrimental.
Yeah. To their athletic development and their love for the game.
Right. It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah. But it really makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, they miss out on developing a diverse set of skills.
By just focusing on one sport, right?
They might develop certain skills to a high level, but they miss out on other skills that could actually make them even better.
Yeah. And, it's like, think about it. If you only ever ate one type of food, you might really like that food, but you'd be missing out on all the other nutrients and flavors that are out there.
It's about being a well-rounded athlete and a well-rounded person. And I think it also really limits their potential to discover what they're truly passionate about.
Yeah. If they're only exposed to one sport, how do they know if that's really their true passion?
It's like closing doors before they even have a chance to open them.
Yeah. And then they might miss out on
Yeah.
a sport that they would have absolutely loved and excelled at.
I think sometimes parents get caught up in this idea of, the 10000 hour rule.
Oh, yeah.
They think that if their kid specializes early enough, they'll get ahead and be more likely to succeed.
But O'Sullivan actually debunks that myth.
He does.
Yeah, and the research shows that deliberate play is just as important as deliberate practice.
I love that term, deliberate play, because it really captures that sense of just exploration and joy.
Yeah, and just kind of messing around and seeing what you like.
Yeah.
And, a lot of elite athletes, even Olympians and professional players, credit their success to playing multiple sports when they were younger.
They didn't specialize until much later.
And I think that's really important for parents to hear.
Yeah, because it kind of takes the pressure off to push their kids into, one specific sport.
Yeah.
Too early, let your kids be kids.
Yeah, let them explore, let them have fun, let them discover what they love.
And then, when they're ready.
If they want to specialize, they can.
Exactly. Let's not force it on them.
So what's the takeaway for parents then?
I think the takeaway is, expose your kids to a variety of sports.
Okay.
Let them try different things. Don't be afraid to let them, quit a sport if they're not enjoying it.
Right.
And most importantly, focus on the fun.
The fun.
So yeah, it's all about the fun.
Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep them coming back, right?
For more.
And that's what's going to make them lifelong movers.
And,
yeah,
healthy and active adults.
And you never know, they might just surprise you with what they discover.
Yeah, they might find a sport that they're truly passionate about that they never even knew existed, that they would have never discovered had they been forced to specialize in, soccer or baseball or whatever it may be right now.
Speaking of people who have a big impact on young athletes, let's talk about the role of coaches.
O'Sullivan paints a really vivid picture of the influence that coaches can have.
They can be such powerful mentors.
Yes, in a young athlete's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're not just teaching them, the skills of the game, but they're also shaping their character, their values, their work ethic.
And their life skills.
Yep, and their life skills.
It's amazing how much of an impact a coach can have on a young person.
I still remember my high school basketball coach.
You do?
Yeah. He was more than just a coach to me. He was a mentor.
Yeah.
He taught me so much about hard work, discipline, teamwork, and, just being a good person.
Those are the things that stick with you long after the season's over and the years have passed.
And one technique that O'Sullivan highlights that I think is really helpful for me is the positive sandwich approach to feedback.
Oh, the positive sandwich.
Yeah, have you ever heard of this?
I have.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's so effective.
So how does that work?
Well, basically, you sandwich constructive criticism between two pieces of positive feedback.
Okay.
So you start by acknowledging something the athlete did well. Then you offer a suggestion for improvement, and then you finish with another positive statement.
I love that.
So it's not just, pointing out what they did wrong.
Right.
It's about framing it in a way that's encouraging and motivating.
And, research actually shows that athletes perform better when they receive feedback this way.
They do.
It makes sense.
It's about making them feel good about themselves while also giving them specific areas to work on.
Exactly.
So do you have an example of how this might play out?
Sure. Let's say you're coaching a basketball team and one of your players keeps traveling.
Okay.
Instead of just yelling travel, you could say something like, "Hey, Sarah, I love how aggressive you're being driving to the basket. Just make sure you're planting your pivot foot before you take that second step. You've got great speed, and if you can master that footwork, you're going to be unstoppable."
I love that. And, it's not just about the words.
It's about the tone of voice and the body language.
You want to convey that you believe in them and that you're there to support them.
Yeah, it's about building them up.
Yeah, not tearing them down.
And those are the kinds of interactions that can really make a lasting impact on a young athlete's confidence.
Absolutely.
And their overall well-being.
Now, another thing that can make or break a youth sports experience is the team culture.
You're absolutely right.
The environment that we create as coaches and parents can have a huge impact on how much kids enjoy their sport and how much they get out of it.
And O'Sullivan really emphasizes the importance of building a positive and supportive team culture.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Well, it's about creating an environment where everyone feels like they belong, regardless of their skill level.
It's about valuing respect, effort, and kindness.
I love that. Those are values that we want to instill in our kids anyway.
But It's especially important in the context of sports.
And it's not just about warm, fuzzy feelings. A positive team culture actually translates to better performance
It does.
and a more enjoyable experience for everyone.
Yeah.
When kids feel safe and supported, they're more likely to take risks, to try new things, to push themselves outside of their comfort zones,
And they're more likely to have fun.
right?
And that's ultimately what we want, right?
We want them to enjoy the experience.
So, how can coaches create this kind of environment?
Well, O'Sullivan suggests implementing rituals and traditions that reinforce team unity.
Okay. Think gratitude circles.
Gratitude circles.
What are those?
Yeah, where players share what they appreciate about each other.
I love that, or pregame huddles where they set goals that aren't related to winning.
Okay, like supporting each other or having fun.
Oh, I love that. It's about shifting the focus from individual achievement to collective growth, right?
And those shared experiences can be so powerful.
Yeah, it's about creating memories that will last a lifetime and teaching them valuable life lessons about teamwork, communication, and resilience that they can carry with them long after their playing days are over.
And, those life lessons are really what youth sports is all about.
Yeah, it's not about creating professional athletes. It's about creating good people who are equipped to succeed in life.
And, even if they never go on to play, in college or professionally,
The skills that they learn through sports will serve them well in all aspects of their lives.
absolutely. So it's a win-win for everyone involved.
It is. And it's something that we should all be striving for.
Absolutely. As coaches and parents and, just caring adults in these kids' lives, we all have a role to play.
We do in creating a positive and supportive youth sports culture.
And that's what changing the game is all about.
So we encourage you to pick up a copy, check it out, and let's all work together to make youth sports the best it can be.
I'm on board.
I'm on board too.
So, I'm starting to see a real pattern here.
Yeah, it's all about shifting our perspective away from this win at all costs mentality and more towards, a more holistic view of what youth sports can and should be.
Absolutely. And, O'Sullivan makes a really compelling case for, recognizing that youth sports can be so much more than just, a pathway to professional success.
It's a powerful platform for personal growth and character development.
Yeah, speaking of holistic development, he also talks about the importance of communication between coaches and parents.
Ooh, yeah, that could be a tricky area.
It can be, misaligned expectations and communication breakdowns can lead to a lot of frustration for everyone involved.
Yeah. Imagine you're a parent who prioritizes playing time above all else, but the coach is focused on skill development. That's bound to cause conflict.
Absolutely. How can we avoid those kinds of situations?
Well, O'Sullivan suggests, starting the season off strong with a parent meeting.
It's a chance for the coach to lay out, their philosophy, their goals for the season, expectations for both players and parents.
That makes a lot of sense, just to kind of set clear expectations from the outset.
Exactly. And it creates an opportunity for open dialogue.
Yeah. It reinforces the idea that parents are part of the team too.
Not in the sense of, dictating playing time or strategy, but in supporting their kids and respecting the coach's expertise.
And of course, when those inevitable tough conversations do come up, it's so important to approach them with empathy and a focus on, what's best for the child.
But it's about finding common ground.
Yeah, and working together to create that positive and supportive environment.
Yeah, it's about remembering that we're all on the same team here.
Absolutely. We all want what's best for these kids, and we need to work together to make that happen.
And we can all learn from each other.
We can.
And I think sometimes, we get so caught up in our own
Perspectives and our own agendas that we forget that we need to be listening to each other and really trying to understand where the other person is coming from.
And I think O'Sullivan does a really good job of, reminding us of that throughout the book.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about, youth sports being a powerful tool for character development.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a big part of his message, right?
It is.
He emphasizes, sports can teach kids so many valuable life skills, discipline, teamwork, resilience, how to handle both victory and defeat gracefully.
These are things that will serve them well in all aspects of their lives, not just on the field or the court.
And I think it's important for parents to remember that, the odds of their child becoming a professional athlete are incredibly slim, right?
You know, less than 1% of youth athletes ever go pro.
So the focus shouldn't be on, creating the next superstar, right?
It's about helping them develop into well-rounded, confident, compassionate individuals who can, embrace the challenges and joys of life.
Yeah, and who can contribute to society in a positive way.
And hopefully they'll develop a lifelong love of movement and physical activity along the way.
That's the ultimate win.
It really is. Now, O'Sullivan offers some really practical tools and strategies that parents and coaches can use to create this, more positive youth sports experience. And one that really stood out to me was the greatest gift question.
Oh, that's a good one.
Have you heard of this one?
I have. It's a powerful question that encourages parents to reflect on what they truly want their child to take away from their sports experience.
What memories will they cherish? What lessons will they carry with them?
What legacy do you, as a parent, want to leave on their hearts?
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment. The wins and losses, the pressure to perform.
But this question forces you to step back and consider the bigger picture.
It's about checking your ego at the door and asking yourself what truly matters most, right?
Are you focused on your child's happiness and growth? Or are you more concerned with, external validation and bragging rights?
That's a question every parent involved in youth sports should ask themselves.
Absolutely. And I think it's a question that we should all be asking ourselves in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely. What is the legacy that we want to leave behind? What is the impact that we want to have on the world? And are our actions aligned with our values?
Exactly.
Now, another tool that caught my attention was the 501 ratio.
Ooh, the 501 ratio. Can you remind our listeners what that's all about?
Absolutely. Research shows that relationships thrive when positive interactions outnumber negative ones by at least 5-1.
Okay.
And this principle applies to coaching and parenting too.
So it's about intentionally focusing on the positive.
Offering encouragement and praise much more frequently than criticism.
Exactly. Instead of immediately pointing out a mistake, you might start by acknowledging their effort, then offer a suggestion for improvement, and end with a positive affirmation.
So, for example, let's say your child just finished a soccer game. Instead of saying, "You missed that easy shot," right?
You could say something like, "I loved how you kept your head up and hustled back on defense. Next time, let's work on your approach to the goal and see if we can get more power behind those shots. You're going to be a scoring machine."
Yeah. It's a simple shift in language, but it can make a world of difference in how the child receives the feedback.
Absolutely. It feels supportive rather than critical.
It does. And that kind of positive reinforcement can do wonders for a child's motivation and self-confidence.
It creates a much healthier dynamic between coaches, parents, and athletes.
And I love that. It's not about just giving them empty praise, right?
It's about being specific and genuine.
Yeah. And, really focusing on the things that they're doing well and helping them identify areas where they can improve.
Exactly.
Now, I'm also curious about this fun maps exercise that O'Sullivan described.
Oh, the fun maps.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So yeah, this is a fantastic exercise that gets to the heart of what truly motivates young athletes.
It's about understanding what they actually find enjoyable about their sport.
So you're essentially getting inside their heads and seeing the sport through their eyes.
Exactly. And so O'Sullivan encourages coaches and parents to have their kids create a fun map where they list all the things that they love about their sport.
Okay.
And then the key is to use that information to inform your approach to coaching and supporting them.
So for example, if a child's fun map highlights the joy of making a great pass or, the camaraderie of celebrating a win with their teammates, you might focus on drills and activities that emphasize those aspects of the game.
Exactly.
It's about tailoring your approach to what genuinely resonates
with the individual child. And by doing so, you're not only helping them improve their skills, but also nurturing their love for the sport. It's a win-win.
It is.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dives, I want to take a moment to appreciate the depth and practicality of O'Sullivan's insights. You know, he doesn't just present a theory, he provides concrete tools and strategies that anyone can implement.
I completely agree. Changing the Game isn't just a feel-good book about youth sports. It's a call to action, a roadmap for creating a more positive and enriching experience for everyone involved.
And it all starts with shifting our perspective and embracing a more holistic view of what youth sports can be.
Well said.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we'll delve into some final takeaways from Changing the Game and explore how we can all play a role in shifting the youth sports culture for the better. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to the First Trainer Podcast. We've been on quite a journey today, exploring, how we can all contribute to a more positive youth sports experience.
It's been really thought-provoking.
Yeah, it has. And, as we've been talking, I keep thinking back to those fun maps we were discussing. It's such a simple but brilliant concept. Imagine if every coach and parent took the time to really understand what makes sports fun for the kids they work with.
It would transform youth sports.
It really would. Instead of imposing our own ideas, right, of what success looks like, we'd be tapping into, that intrinsic motivation that really drives kids to play in the first place.
Absolutely. Think about it. If a kid loves the feeling of making a diving catch in baseball, maybe that's where we focus our coaching. Or if they thrive on the strategic challenge of setting up a play in soccer, we can nurture that tactical thinking.
Exactly. It's about speaking their language, meeting them where they are, and helping them develop their skills in a way that feels both challenging and rewarding.
I love that. And it all comes back to that core message of changing the game, right? Shifting our focus from outcomes to effort, enjoyment, and personal growth.
It's not about erasing competition altogether. It's about putting it in its proper perspective.
Competition can be healthy and motivating, but it shouldn't be the sole driving force behind youth sports.
Yeah, when we prioritize winning above all else, we create, this environment that's more about ego and pressure than learning and development.
And that's when we start to see the negative side effects, the burnout, the anxiety.
Yeah, the kids who lose their love for the game. It's heartbreaking.
It is. But the good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. We have the power to change the game.
We do. And it starts with each of us making a conscious decision to shift our perspective and our approach.
I love that. One of the things that really struck me about Changing the Game is that it's not just aimed at coaches and parents. It's a message for anyone who cares about the well-being of young athletes.
Grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends. We can all play a role in creating a more supportive and positive youth sports culture.
We can all be champions for change.
We can. And sometimes it's just as simple as, offering a word of encouragement or celebrating a child's effort regardless of the outcome.
Absolutely. Those seemingly small gestures can make a world of difference. It's about letting them know that they're valued and appreciated for who they are, not just for how well they perform.
And that's a lesson that extends far beyond sports.
Yeah, it's about fostering a sense of belonging and worthiness that will benefit these kids throughout their lives.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Changing the Game, I'm left with a sense of hope and inspiration. John O'Sullivan has given us a roadmap for a better way. And it's up to all of us to take action and make that vision a reality.
I couldn't agree more. It's a collective effort.
And every step we take, no matter how small, can make a difference.
It can. Whether it's having a conversation with a coach, sharing the book with a friend, or simply reflecting on our own beliefs and behaviors, we can all contribute to positive change.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that when we shift our focus from outcomes to, the joy of the journey, we unlock the true potential of sports to transform lives for the better.
It's about nurturing a love for movement, building character, fostering teamwork, and creating memories that will last a lifetime.
And those are the things that truly matter.
They are.
So if you're feeling inspired to change the game in your own community, we encourage you to pick up a copy of Changing the Game by John O'Sullivan. We'll have a link in the show notes where you can purchase the book and dive even deeper into these concepts.
It's a book that will stay with you long after you finish reading it, and who knows, it might just inspire you to become a champion for positive change in youth sports.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Changing the Game.
And thank you for listening to the First Trainer Podcast.